There he is.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. I'm Justin Coffin. Joe Danier across from me. Today is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. We're not allowed to say Happy New Year, but welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well. We are going to get into some NFL football talk. We have 9 NFL coaching vacancies right now. Nine times. Sounds like Ed Rooney from Ferris Bueller. We're going to get into my top fictional head coaches for the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
But we're going to also talk about what you think, what I think are the best job openings. If we were a wanted commodity as a head coach in the NFL, how would we rank those destinations? So we're going to get into that. We will talk all sorts of other stuff. And I'm going to give Joe my top 10 TV shows of 2025 as we get into 2026 here a little bit more. So lots to talk about on the show. So let's start with those job openings. So Arizona, I'm just list these in alphabetical order. Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Miami, New York Giants, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Tennessee Titans. Some of those jobs haven't been open for 2 decades. Obviously, Mike Tomlin steps down. That was a little bit of a shocker, but I think some people saw that coming. But like when a coach is around for 2 decades, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 head coaches since 1969, with Chuck Noll, then Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. So whoever they hire is probably going to be a younger guy. I guess initial impressions, first of all, of John Harbaugh being out and then Mike Tomlin being out. What do you think?
So Tomlin, like from a fan's perspective, they needed a change.
Yeah.
Like I never thought I would have put money down that there's no way they're going to get rid of Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Too many playoff appearances, too many championships. Like,
right.
I didn't think that was highly likely.
So they now hold, I think he tied Marvin Lewis. Remember Marvin Lewis? He used to be the Bengals head coach.
Yeah.
They both have lost now 7 consecutive playoff games. So the Steelers are 0-7 over the last times they make the playoffs. But it's one of those things where it's like people, get on LeBron James. Well, Michael Jordan has made it to the finals 6 times and won all 6.
Right.
Well, LeBron's made it like 11 or 12 times and he's only won 4. It's like, is getting there more impressive and losing, or is it like the only times you get there you win it? You know what I mean? The Steelers are always good. They're always relevant.
As a Browns fan, if I can guarantee you at least a playoffs appearance,
give me a chance
every time.
Give me a chance. I think the last 3 years in a row, the Steelers have finished 10-8. It's like wild card berth or win the division or whatever it is, but losing the wild card round and first round exit. But you know what? They at least get there. And I have 100%. Said for so many years, their fans are so spoiled. They're so lucky. They don't know how good they have it. It will be interesting to see who they hire, because when we get to these job rankings, I don't think the Steelers are in the top 5 of the 9. I think they might be in the middle of the pack there, but I don't think they are anywhere near the top.
No.
So we shall see. All right. So do you need me to read those job openings again?
Yeah.
All right. So Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore. Ironically, the first 3 ABCs are all bird teams.
Okay.
The Browns, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Giants, the Steelers, the Titans. If you had I think there's an obvious choice for number 1, but if you had your choice of anywhere of those franchises to go as a future head coach, where would you pick and why? Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Cleveland.
I'm taking Baltimore.
That is the number 1. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the obvious number 1. And it's because they have the most talented team and they have a quarterback ready to go. They have a proven Lamar's a 2-time MVP, I think, but they just haven't been able to get over the hump.
Right.
And if you look at the past years, so if they make that field goal, not John Harbaugh's fault. If they make that field goal, they're in the playoffs. The year before, I believe Mark Andrews dropped a I don't know if it was a 2-point conversion or whatever it was a wide open pass that would have beat Buffalo. Before that, there was another crazy play, and then they almost beat Cincinnati in the wild card round one year, where I think it was Sam Hubbard went 97 yards the other way. So John Harbaugh, the last 4 times he's been eliminated, really hasn't quite been his fault. But that job opens. They might just need a new voice in the locker room. He's been around forever. So I don't know. So Baltimore to me is the clear number one. All right. Give me your next, or how about this? Give me your least desirable job opening. So one more time, Atlanta. And this is interesting. I just got breaking news that Oregon quarterback Dante Moore is returning to school next year. So there's a clear only one top quarterback in the draft next year. So Atlanta, and I'm going to take Baltimore out of this because you said they're clear number one. Arizona, Atlanta, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Miami, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Titans. Which job would be the worst out of those, in your opinion?
So I would say the Jets would be my first pick, but I would.
The Jets are not on this list. Okay.
My real pick is the Raiders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why do you say the Raiders?
I think they are probably behind the 1 or 2 years away from being something that's
okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting choice because I was torn on where to put the Raiders for several reasons. One, brand new stadium. Las Vegas might be a cool free agent destination. They have the number 1 pick in the draft. That's a desirable thing, and Fernando Mendoza looks to be. They have Ashton Genty, they have Brock Bowers, and they have Max Crosby on the defensive side of the ball. All pretty good star power guys. So I think Vegas is in the top 5. I would put my least desirable as Arizona. Not necessarily that might be the number 1 most likely place you'd want to live out in Arizona, right. Scottsdale, whatever. But I would say Arizona would be the least desirable because their roster needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
They have no Kyler Murray. Is he going to be the quarterback? Probably not. They need to figure that position out. They're not great on either side of the ball. So Arizona to me is the least likely, least desirable head coaching outside of location. So
right. You turn it down.
I mean, there's only 32 jobs available. Right. So, but if you are in the position of a John Harbaugh and you get your pick of the litter, right. That would probably be my least choice. So my list, I'm in agreement with you. Baltimore's number 1.
Yeah.
I think the Atlanta Falcons are probably number 2 because they are loaded on the offensive side of the ball. They have a lot of really good young defensive players. The question is the quarterback position. They have Kirk Cousins, but they drafted Michael Penix a couple years ago with a top 10 pick. So you have to. I would think you almost have to bring in an offensive guy that's good with quarterback there. The Giants, to me, out like New York is obviously like kind of a pressure cooker, but they have a young quarterback, a stud young wide receiver, and a really good defense. So I think that's a desirable location. The Raiders I had 4, just with the number 1 pick and all that stuff. I had the Titans at number 5 because they took a quarterback next year. Their roster seems to be improving. You're in Nashville, another city people might want to go to. I have Cleveland number 6. Cleveland number 6 for the reason of they, out of all these teams on this list, have by far the best defense. They have a very elite defense. They do not have a quarterback. At least we're unsure of that. And they have a lot of work to do on the offensive side of the ball. So if I were an offensive coach, I would want full control over who we're drafting, who we are bringing in free agency, and what we're doing going forward. But again, Cleveland with momentum and the right hire, they're moving into a new stadium in 4 years. They have a really good defense, and they have a lot of draft capital to go out and get. If that new head coach is like, you know what, you take number 6 and number 4, and you package that. We're going up and getting Mendoza, and we'll send him next year's first. Personally, I'd hate that, but if that's what that guy wanted to do, then you do it.
Right. So who of what head coach that's available that you would not hate fell into your lap?
Oh man. Okay. So John Harbaugh is number 1, but I don't think we're getting him.
Right.
I think it's going to be a guy who we talked about this last week, who maybe is a little bit under the radar. Kevin Stefanski wasn't a guy like super high up on the radar. The guy's name is escaping me right now, but he's only 30 years old. He is the Jaguars offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name, but he would be the guy I might think about.
Okay.
If you want a CEO type head coach, maybe you go get like a John Gruden or like a rah-rah type guy, and then you bring in like a Mike McDaniel as your OC.
I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate Brian Flores. It would be interesting to see how Brian Flores and Jim Schwartz would work together if he remains your DC. But I don't know. I feel like if you take Jim Schwartz and make him head coach, you're taking away the best aspect of what he does. He's the best defensive coordinator for the Browns. But if you take him away and make him the head coach, you got to replace him with somebody. Right. And it's like, will they align philosophically? Will they be the best, choice? I don't know. That's the reason I'm a little bit like, I don't know if that's the right answer. Right. So we'll see what they do. But that I would keep an eye on the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator. He would be an interesting. And ironically, we got our second first-round pick from Jacksonville last year in that trade. I would also be interested to see if the Browns punt on taking a quarterback this year, but somehow package one of those 2 first-round draft picks into parlaying that into having another one next year, and then use those 2 next year to go up and get your quarterback if Shador is not that guy. So, or maybe you go out and get a Mac Jones or a Malik Willis type rental, and maybe they're the guy going forward. Or maybe you rehab their career like a Sam Darnold, or maybe you they're not the guy and they're a bridge guy before you get your new quarterback in 2027. So the rest of my list would be the Steelers at 7, the Dolphins at 8, and Arizona at 9. Ironically, probably the best 2 places to live are 8 and 9 in Miami and Arizona. But I think their organization situation is not the best. But I do have the Steelers at 7, even though a lot of people would probably argue with me that they should be maybe. I would say the Steelers maybe could be as high as number 4 on this list and bump everybody down, because they do have organization stability. Usually their ownership group, their GM want consistency. So hey, if I get this job, I'm going to be here for a few years. But it's also hard to replace the guy. You know what I mean? You want to replace the guy that replaces the guy, not. But in Pittsburgh, you don't that job doesn't come open very often. Right. So we shall see. So my list one more time: Baltimore, Atlanta, the Giants, the Raiders, the Titans, the Browns, the Steelers, the Dolphins, and Arizona. 9 jobs. 28% of the NFL is available right now. All right. Here's a little fun turn.
Okay.
So think about all the sports movies you've ever watched. Any sports movie. And give me your top fictional head coach that you would want for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, man.
And it could be football, baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, whatever. Well, any fictional head coach.
I got to go with the water boy, Coach Klein.
Coach Klein. He's an offensive genius. He might be in the Mike McDaniel.
Amazingly talented. Absolutely.
He'd be a great one. So I came up with a few on my list, and you can. This guy's actually not fictional. He was a real character, but Herman Boone from Remember the Titans obviously took his high school team through a very racially divided South and they ended up winning big. So Herman Boone, remember the Titans. Next one up, Tony D'Amato. Any Given Sunday. He was played by Al Pacino.
Oh,
that
yes,
movie,
classic.
and he had to deal with a quarterback that was a little bit out there, a little bit outspoken. So he could deal with some high, what's the word? A lot of personalities out there. So maybe Shador's that guy with him. I did have Coach Klein on my list as number 3. Jimmy McGinty from The Replacements. He was played by Gene Hackman. Keanu Reeves was the quarterback in that one. I thought he would be a good guy. Bud Kilmer, played by John Voight in Varsity Blues. He was just a badass. You've never seen Varsity Blues? Put that on your list.
I will.
To me, that is a top 5 sports movie, in my opinion, of all time. Varsity Blues. I think it came out around 1999, maybe, but Varsity Blues, awesome cast, great movie. Takes place in high school, Texas, where it's like everybody like lives and breathes high school football down there. So good. But Bud Kilmer is he's such a piece of shit in that movie, but he's such a perfect guy for that role. And then the other guys I had Hayden Fox from the TV show Coach. If you remember that, he was the guy, I forget his real name, but he played in Poltergeist. He was the main character in Poltergeist, the movie. I had Billy Bob Thornton's character. What was his name? Coach Baines, I believe, from Friday Night Lights, the movie. I had, sorry, it's hard to read on these. Coach Jack Langle from We Are Marshall, another non-fictional fictional coach. Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights, the TV show. There was a movie called Revenge of the Nerds way back when, and John Goodman played Coach Harris, the football coach in that movie, and then finally Coach Sammy Winters from The Program. We got a Lou Brown mention in there. Lou Brown, I mean, he took a bunch of ragtag guys, got them to the ALCS, so that's a good list there. So those would be some of my top fictional candidates for the Cleveland Browns. All right, their draft picks. So the Browns will have the number 6 and the number 24 overall picks in the first round. Pretty solid. You're gonna have 3 picks in the top 40, and you're gonna have 4 picks in the top, top 100, so, or top 70, really. So you're gonna be set up to get at least 3 immediate starters on offense and defense. If you are the Browns, give me one position, the number 1 position you want in the draft. Just give me one position.
Wide receiver.
Immediate impact guy. And how about a wide receiver that can run a route and also catch a ball? With his hands.
All right.
Not just like bobble it and cradle it into your body. Actually, hands catch. And there's going to be at least 3 guys in this draft that I think the Browns should look at. Tyson from Arizona State, Carnell Tate from Ohio State, and Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. Those are the 3 guys. If the Browns go after a wide receiver, target one of them. Maybe Denzel Boston, a guy from Washington, if you take one with your second first-round pick. So wide receiver 1, give me one other position.
Offensive line, anywhere, honestly.
Perfect.
Anywhere.
Yep. That's all they should draft. All 10 picks, take wide receivers. Maybe you could throw a tight end or a running back in there, but they should address, and I think Andrew Berry even said this, they're going to use it to address the offensive side of the ball.
100%.
And whatever you don't get in free agency, whatever you don't get in the draft, spend some free agent money on offensive line or wide receiver. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That has been proven. All right, let's switch to college football real quick. Because this will be our last show before the championship game next Monday night. The Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes are playing for a national championship in college football. That is wild. The Indiana Hoosiers are 8.5-point favorites over the Miami Hurricanes. The The over-under is 48.5. Indiana is an 8.5-point favorite in the national championship game of college football. Imagine saying that 2 years ago. No one would have believed it. So I like Miami to win. I don't know how I feel about the spread yet, but who do you think Miami has a chance in this game?
So there was a little bit of conspiracy theory to go along with this.
Okay.
I was reading that Indiana somehow hacked.
Yes.
Did you read about that?
I have heard into servers, right?
Yeah, you're right. Offensive plays.
Sounds very Michigan-like.
Right. Truth? Yay?
I don't know. I don't know what to believe of it. I will say that the very first play of the game against Oregon, pick 6 the other way, they knew what was coming.
Right.
Or is that just a really good play by the defensive back?
All right. I'll take Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Miami.
I'm going to say Indiana. Indiana usually doesn't win close. Well, Ohio State was a close game. It was 13-10, and they beat Iowa close 20-15. And the first Oregon game went to overtime. So they have won 3 close games this year, right, but the rest have pretty much been blowouts. I'll say Indiana wins and Miami covers. I'll say that.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say.
That's fair.
And a real quick Ohio State note, because a lot of people, Ohio State, the sky is falling. A lot of guys went into the transfer portal. Things have calmed down. They're still on. What's that?
I didn't see that.
Oh, there's no. So the Ohio State's going to lose a lot of guys like they do every year to the draft. That's commonplace. But 29, I believe, scholarship players have entered the transfer portal. Now, you have 105 scholarship players on your roster, so we're talking about 30%. That's a lot. In the NIL world now, though, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to pay your proven commodities, and these younger guys that might be your second, your third string, you can't pay them like starters. But if they go somewhere else to either a lesser school or a school that maybe doesn't quite have that talent at that position, those schools can pay them like starters. And that's where, in a way, it's a good thing, because parity in college football is leveling the playing field. Right. That's kind of a good thing. However, the portal and NIL is really causing a lot of trouble, because it's setting up like a free market, free agent system. What college football is not designed to be. Right. College football, is not the college football we knew even 5 years ago. It is. Teams are spending a lot of money on these rosters. Now, people were giving crap to Ohio State last year, saying, oh, they had a $21 million roster. There are teams out there that have spent $50 million on their roster. Wow. Texas Tech and Miami and Oregon. Now, I think Ohio State was in the 30s this year, but I would guess Ohio State would probably not even be in the top 8 of money spent. I could be wrong on that, but what they just have to find this new this a good vibe for what is right and what is wrong, how to construct your roster, and getting those proven commodities. Yes, you want to get a Jeremiah Smith out of high school. You're going to pay him top dollar to come to Ohio State. But 2 examples, Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham just transferred to Notre Dame. They would have been probably the 4th and 5th guys in Ohio State's rotation. We wanted them as depth pieces, but you can't give them $1 million, $1.5 million. You got to build your roster in other areas. You can't pay your 4th and 5th wide receivers like top end guys. So they go to Notre Dame, and good for them. Hopefully they succeed, unless they're playing the Buckeyes in the future. But that's just the way of college football now. Now, here's where I want to say pump the brakes. Ohio State's doing a great job. And I was one of those people. I was getting a little bit concerned about the Buckeyes and the whole roster construction. There were some reports out there that Ryan Day might be interviewing for an NFL job. I don't think that's the case, but again, I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. But what I do want to say is everything at Ohio State is going to be just fine. Now, here's why I say this. They are the model of consistency in college football. Here are their records since 2012. In 2012, 12-0, finished number 2 in the country. 2013, 12-2, finished number 12. 2014, 14-1, finished number 1. They were national champions. 2015, 12-1, number 7, and probably should have won the title that year. 2016, 11-2, finished number 3, lost in the semifinals. 2017, 12-2, number 5, Big Ten champs that year. 2018, 13-1, number 6 was their final ranking, Big Ten champs. 2019, also 13-1, number 2, Big Ten champs. 2020, that was the COVID year, only played 6 regular season games, went 6-0, won the Big Ten title, 7-0, lost in the national championship. They were the national runner-up that year. 2021, 11-2, finished number 6 in the country, won the Rose Bowl. 2022, 11-2, lost in the semis to the then national champions, Georgia. 2023, 11-2, lost to the number 1 Michigan Wolverines that went on to win the national championship. 2024, 10-2 regular season, won all 4 games in the playoffs, become national champions that year. And then 2025, 12-2, and you lost to the 2 teams that are playing in the national championship game this year. So that adds up in total to 165-21, which is 88.7 win percentage for the Ohio State Buckeyes. The sky is not falling. They will be just fine. They do, and I did hear rumors. I have not seen if he signed or not, but I did hear rumors of Matt Patricia possibly working on a deal to come back as the defensive coordinator. They do need to get a proven offensive coordinator so Ryan Day can be that CEO type guy, head coach. And then also, I mentioned kicker as well. They need to get a kicker out of the portal. I did see a guy from Baylor went into the portal and looks to be a guy that Ohio State could go after and get there. So we shall see. So I apologize. I don't have my graphics up, but I do want to go through my top TV shows and movies. This is me transitioning. My top TV shows and movies of 2025. I'm going to wait and give my top 10 for when Joe comes back here in a second. But some movies that came out last year that I didn't get to that I do want to see. The Naked Gun. I heard it was really good. I heard it was really funny. I would like to see that. From an animated perspective, how about Zootopia? Zootopia 2. Heard that was pretty good. Frankenstein, the movie, it was a Guillermo del Toro movie. Did not see it, but that is out, I believe, right now, either on Prime or Netflix. The John Candy I Like Me documentary I heard was really good. From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. That is a movie that I would really like to see. And then The Running Man. The Running Man is a movie, obviously, the Arnold Schwarzenegger original back in the 80s. That was a movie based on a Stephen King, Robert Bachman, who is his alias, because Stephen King used to write so many books that the publisher was like, all right, we got to come up with like an alias for you, a pen name. So he wrote that under that pen name. But The Running Man was a great movie back in the 80s. And I intentionally try not to spoil it by like going out and reading reviews and learning a whole lot about it before I go see the movie. But that was one I definitely want to go catch. All right, now let's go to movies I saw in 2025 that, and I'm going to kind of just give you an A through F grade on some of these. So I'm going to start with probably one of the top 2 movies I saw in 2025, the movie Weapons. Weapons is a thriller, a horror, whatever way you want to look at it, but it was a fantastic movie. A little weird, a little creepy, a couple jump scares in there, but a really good psychological thriller. And it kind of made you wonder, for especially the first 45 minutes, what the hell was going on. And they tell the story from the point of view of many different characters, and then you piece it together like a puzzle. It's a very well done movie. I saw the new Jurassic World movie. Oh, by the way, I give Weapons an A- on the list. Jurassic World. I'm going to give a C+. If Scarlett Johansson wasn't in the movie, I'd probably give it a D. But she brings it up. It's an okay movie, but a lot of plot holes, a lot of like missed opportunities. I think these movies could be so much better. The CGI is really great in these, but they're always trying to create these new dinosaurs, these new monsters, or whatever you want to call them in these movies. And I just didn't love it from a plot perspective. I think it could have been better. So Jurassic World Rebirth, I'm giving a C+. Sinners. This was Michael B. Jordan was the star of this. He actually plays twin brothers. They're in kind of the Jim Crow South. They were up in Chicago kind of bootlegging, coming back down to Mississippi. And to not give too much away, it turns into a horror movie, a supernatural horror movie. And it's an excellent, excellent thriller. Very well written, very well done. I would put this as either, I'm going to say 1A, 1B with Sinners. Both my top movies I saw last year. So right up there. The next one is Mickey 17. And these, I'm not putting these in any particular order. These are just the way I listed them out. Mickey 17. So basically they needed, this is a futuristic movie that takes place mostly in outer space on a different planet, but they needed volunteers from Earth to go on these, travels, expeditions, whatever you want to call them, and basically volunteer themselves up to, be whatever role they are deemed in this movie. So this guy, played by Robert Pattinson, Mickey, ends up being 17 of them because he could be cloned. So there's a lot of morality, a lot of different things to go along with this. But it's if you ever have seen the movie The Prestige, it has a little bit of elements to that, in the sense of like you're duplicating yourself, but you're getting also all that prior knowledge into your next life. But you are basically thrown out to the, so to speak, wolves in this movie to be tested on, to go into these dangerous places and things like that. So Mickey 17, I'd give that movie a solid B, a pretty decent movie. All right, next one, Happy Gilmore 2, came out in the summer, late July. We obviously had Vern Lundquist on to talk about his role in that, but to talk about his career. But Vern played a role in that late in the movie, and it was pretty cool. But the first 45 minutes of that movie were a masterpiece. I loved it. Loved all the callbacks. Loved all the jokes. First 45 minutes, I give an A. The last hour gets a little dumb. The last hour of the movie, I give a C-. So that's my grading scale for this movie. I'm going first 45 minutes of Happy Gilmore, I'm giving an A. Last hour, when they kind of take on like a live tour type rival to the PGA Tour, it gets a little goofy. So I'm giving that part a C minus. So first 45 minutes, can't recommend highly enough. Another fun movie from 2025, Death of a Unicorn. Kind of slipped under the radar. I think I didn't hear a whole lot about this movie, but this is on HBO Max right now. Excellent movie. Kind of a fun thriller. A lot of comedy, a little bit of horror elements in there, but more of just like a fun thriller. Jenna Ortega is in this movie. Paul Rudd is in this movie. There's a lot of really fun characters in this movie, and kind of a neat plot to it. Obviously very supernatural, but I'm going B+ of Death of a Unicorn. Next one, Superman. I felt like I had to see this movie because it was, mostly shot in Cleveland. The sights, the scenes, the CGI was all excellent. The acting was okay. They brought in a Supergirl. They brought in a dog. Crypto, I think, was the dog's name. But kind of a cool, fun movie. It's an easy watch, but it's not a great movie. So I'm giving Superman a C, just based on it's entertaining. It's a fun movie. Not a great plot, but it's worth watching. So I'm going C. Now, the next one I'm going to preface with, I have a 6-year-old daughter. And I watched most of this movie with her, and I've seen several other snippets, but there's really good music. It's animated. It's on Netflix, and it was one of their best movies of 2025, or most popular. It was K-pop Demon Hunters. And like I said, if I didn't have a 6-year-old daughter, I probably wouldn't have watched this. But for that, sitting down and watching this with her, she loved it. She was entertained. And the music is really, really good. It's a little cheesy, obviously, in parts, but very popular, very good. I'm giving that a solid B. And then finally, I actually went and saw this Christmas Day in between some basketball and football watching, but Wicked for Good, which was obviously the second installment of the Wicked movies. I did like the first one better than the second one, but again, great acting, great singing. I get some people say it's a little woke or whatever, and I understand that, but from a person that grew up watching The Wizard of Oz a lot, I thought that was kind of a cool look at the different characters, and you always villainize the Wicked Witch of the West, which was Elphaba was her name, and then Glinda. You have two great actresses, two great singers, and I don't know. I was entertained. And at the end of the day, what are movies for? They're for entertainment. So those are my grades, and I gave that movie a B-. So didn't watch a ton of movies last year, but those would be some I would recommend, from an entertainment perspective. Now, before we get into the TV shows, best TV shows of 2025, from my perspective, I am going to give you shows I still need to get to that I'm really interested in. There's so much content out there right now from an entertainment perspective, but the show Stick, did not get to that. Would like to watch that. Wilson is the main actor in that one. There's a show called Running Point. Kate Hudson's in it. Anything Kate Hudson does, I would love, but she is the owner of a basketball team, or a GM. That looks like a Netflix show that came out last year, but I would like to get to that. Landman. I have not seen the show Landman, but I have heard great things about season 1. I've heard season 2, which just recently came out, is a little bit more disappointing. So pump the brakes on your expectations on season 2. But I have heard season 1 of Landman was wildly entertainment, and that's on Paramount Plus, and you can watch that through your streamers. The Chair Company, which is on HBO. That looks like a show that I would be highly interested in. But, there's only so much time to watch TV, movies, sports, whatever you're into. Would like to get to that. Death by Lightning is another one. And this is historical fiction here, I believe. But Ulysses S. Grant, a lot of characters in the presidential days way back when. That looks to be a really good one. I would like to go see that one. Claire Danes is the final one I'd like to see. It's called The Beast in Me, and I've heard really, really, really good things about that one. And again, there are plenty of TV shows, plenty of movies out there that I just simply haven't got to or hasn't been time. But those are some worth watching. All right, now, these did not make my top 10 list. I watched probably about 20 series last year. And like I said, it's hard to fit everything in. Sometimes you want to binge stuff. Sometimes, I might watch an hour a night over a week and, watch a whole series in a week. Or, maybe I'll watch one show every week and then you're in it for a month, 2.5 months or something like that. So depends on your style of watching and streaming. But again, these are shows that are not in my top 10, but I think are entertaining and worth a watch. I'm going to start with CB Strike, The Ink Black Heart. That came out last January on HBO. It's a mystery drama. Good, solid mystery show. Would recommend that. Squid Game, the final season, Squid Game 3. And it looks to be, without giving too much away, they kind of leave on a cliffhanger of maybe there could be an American version of Squid Games in the future. But Squid Game 3, entertaining. If you're not into reading subtitles, would not recommend this for you. But again, if you watch the first 2 seasons, you got to watch the last one. Squid Game 3, the final season, Netflix. Cobra Kai. It is Cobra Kai, I would describe as so bad it's good. So that would make my list of, again, you got to kind of watch it. If you were a Karate Kid fan growing up in the 80s, 90s, it's worth a watch to see Johnny's redemption, Daniel LaRusso. You get all the the bad guys from Cobra Kai from back in the day, and some of their redemption stories. Some are still pieces of trash, and you hate them. So that's a good one. The Righteous Gemstones. Now, the Righteous Gemstones kind of like pokes fun at the mega church, the past, the mega preachers, and what they do. And this series has been going on for, I believe this was the 4th season. It was the final installment. Again, entertaining, a little bit too out there for my taste at some point. I kind of lost interest at some points. There were a couple great moments of this show, but also a little too much full frontal nudity on the male side that just wasn't to my liking. But The Righteous Gemstones, it's definitely a good show for a laugh, for sure. Alien Earth. Alien Earth, obviously sci-fi action. The xenomorph is like the main predator in this, but there are plenty of creatures that you might say. So a spaceship, outer space, obviously on track to go wherever it's going, sets track and basically crashes into Earth. And then all the different things leading up to the crash, and then post-crash with these creatures now on Earth. Very entertaining, very interesting, but did not make my top 10 list. I put a documentary on here, Pee-wee as himself. So Pee-wee Herman, you might remember from Pee-wee's Playhouse, all this stuff, but he was in a lot of stuff. It gives his backstory. It's very, very entertaining and interesting. So I would recommend that. If you watch Pee-wee Herman growing up, remember Phil Hartman was in that? wasn't Sinbad in that too? I can't remember, but that's a very interesting documentary of how he became the star he became in the late 80s there. So Pee-wee as himself. Another one, and this one almost cracked my top 10 list, but just didn't quite get there because there was so much good stuff out there and so much good content. I believe the next season of this is coming out soon, but Paradise. Now, Paradise is kind of an apocalyptic show that was out on Hulu. So if you have Disney Plus, pay that extra couple bucks, get the Hulu bundle with it, or if you just have Hulu, you can watch it on there. But really, really good show, well acted. James Marsden's one of the main characters in this as the president of the United States. So I would recommend that one. Pretty good show. So two more before we get to the top 10 and wrap this show up. But honorable mentions for me in 2025. And these were the only two I put in their own tier. One was an HBO show, The Last of Us, and that is a sci-fi thriller. It's based off a video game, but it also the first season was absolutely fantastic. And I would actually say, I believe it was episode 2. I would put that in the top 10 episodes of any series, any show in 2025, the second episode of this, but did kind of lose a little luster, but I think the show will be back in full force when it returns. But again, it's an honorable mention. It's one of the better shows of 2025, just didn't crack my top 25 list. And then I had to put Black Mirror on this honorable mentions list simply because it's just so interesting and thought-provoking. It's obviously a sci-fi thriller. It's a social satire. And it just gives you interesting perspectives on what might be coming in the future, some technology, and just very, very good stuff. So Black Mirror I think that was season 7. And I know a season 8 is coming very, very soon. So those are my honorable mentions. The Last of Us and Black Mirror. Now, let's get into, and I got to back up through these. I'm going to go through my top 10 list now of shows, the best of 2025. I'm going to start with number 10, The Bear on FX. It's also on Hulu. This is a show based in Chicago primarily, and it takes you through really how a high-end restaurant works. And it's just very, very well done. Also, on a sad note, Rob Reiner, the last acting credit to his great career. He made some cameos on this show, but takes you through a Chicago restaurant, and also, it's called The Bear, obviously, but they also sell like beef sandwiches on the side as a smaller endeavor, and it's just really cool to see the inner workings of a restaurant and how that works. So, not the best season. I think seasons 1 and 2 were the best. I would put this one right behind those, and then season 3 kind of on the bottom, but very, very highly rated show, and I would recommend this one. Number 10, The Bear, season 4. Number 9, I've talked about this show before on this podcast, but this show should probably be higher on this list simply because of all the great camera work and direction. But it is Adolescence on Netflix. 4 episodes. Unbelievable one take in each episode. So there is nonstop shooting, nonstop filming. I'm sure they had to make some edits in post-production, but one take takes you through all the episodes. Unbelievable stuff. I've never seen anything like it. And there is one scene in particular between this young boy, I would say he's 12, 13. I'm not exactly sure how old he is. And a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist. I'm not exactly sure what her title is, that will like leave you with goosebumps. It is chilling. So Adolescence, I give that show my number 9 ranking of 2025. Number 8, this is a show I just finished. Many of you just finished. It was one of the most anticipated shows in a very long time. I think it was very good, not great. So some of the previous seasons were much better, but it did end on a really good note. And for that reason, I'm putting it at number 8, Stranger Things season 5. Now you get, if you're anywhere on the internet, you're probably got some spoilers out there. This was really hard to avoid, especially over the holidays. They did a drop on Thanksgiving. They did a drop on Christmas Eve. They did a drop on New Year's Eve. So it was really hard to like kind of keep up with. It was eight episodes. So the first 4 were pretty good. The middle 3 were kind of like not as great in my opinion. The finale was really good. So I give this show, by the way, ran for an entire decade. So the weird part was some of your main characters were like 11 or 12. I say 11 and Jess, she was the main character, but she was probably like, Millie Bobby Brown was probably 13 or 14 when she first started this. Now she's 24, you know what I mean? And playing a 15-year-old or whatever in this. So it was a little strange from that aspect, but Stranger Things season 5 makes my list at number 8. Number 7, love this show, would do it again, would watch this again 100 times out of 100, but Welcome to Derry. So good, terrifying. There are 4 scenes in the first 2 episodes that are some of the most terrifying things I've ever seen on a TV, and just an absolute thriller. It gives a prequel of Pennywise the Clown, which Pennywise the Clown is the clown we all know from like the Stephen King story, but it is like this shape-shifting monster that just kind of decides to take the form of a clown, but it kind of gives you a little bit of the backstory from the 1960s. Just highly recommend this. Ends on a very interesting note too, and they're making more series, and there's 2 more seasons of this, but each cycle is going to go back 27 years as the monster cycles every 27 years. Very interesting premise. Number 6, and I know Joe loves this show, but this was a series that itself was resurrected, but Dexter Resurrection. Dexter Resurrection, an unbelievable, they call this the first season, but there was Dexter Resurrection. Then there was like Cold Blood or something like that. It was like a spinoff, but this is based on Dexter moving to New York City and goes through the classic tales of what Dexter does. He's a serial killer that kills other serial killers, but is put in some serious precarious positions. A great cast in this as well. Dexter Resurrection, unbelievable show. Number 5, Your Friends and Neighbors. This is an Apple TV show. John Hamm, Olivia Munn are some of the main stars in this show. Great show out of Apple TV. Apple TV is starting to put out some really good stuff. So Your Friends and Neighbors, highly recommended. This is more of a social satire, but a drama. And you learn very quickly why John Hamm is put in a bad situation and to see what he has to do behind the scenes to kind of keep his life afloat and keep his life going the way it is. All right, next one. Now we're in the top 4. These were all really hard to rank from here. But Task. This is a crime drama. It's Mark Ruffalo is the main character in this, but some great cast in this show. It takes place of a task team set to take down some like motorcycle gangs, drug lords, stuff like that. But it takes you through some great character development and just an unbelievable acting performances in this, and it really makes you feel bad for many of the characters, and that's what a show does. It like, you know, when you're nervous and you get those butterflies, like, but it's usually for yourself or a child or someone close to you. You feel like you're in these characters' shoes sometimes, and that's just great storytelling, good character development. Number 3, Severance. This is another Apple TV show, Apple TV Plus show. Actually, 3. Let me check my list real quick. 3 of my top 5 are Apple TV Plus shows, which is pretty damn good for Apple TV. But Severance, Severance season 2. This is just such great television, such great entertainment, and it's a sci-fi mystery. But Severance, if you saw this first season, you kind of know what it is. They have some brain surgery that they do where when you flip a switch, you basically go to work. Your outie and your innie don't know each other. You have an innie at work, you have an outie outside of work. So when you are outside, you are outside of work. When you are inside, you're inside. It's total separate personalities. You are severed into 2 personalities, and it just, I can't tell too much about this show without giving away too much of the plot. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. You would love this kind of stuff. So Severance is number 3 on my list. Number 2, HBO show, The White Lotus, and they're coming back with season 4 this year. I believe it's going to be in France. But The White Lotus, this one takes place in Thailand. You got Parker Posey in this one, playing a great character. You have just so many great actors in this that it's hard to like narrow down which characters you like the best, which ones you don't like. Arnold Schwarzenegger's kids in this movie. Who else am I missing? I can't think of his name, but Walter Goggins. Walter Goggins plays a great character in this. And there's some characters you just grow to love or you grow to hate in this show, and that's what makes this so good. But it's basically a group of rich white Americans put in interesting positions in a luxury resort around the world. The first one took place in Hawaii. I think the second one was in Italy. The third one was in Thailand. And like I said, I think the next one, they're going back to Europe, going to France. So The White Lotus season 3, highly recommend. That is my number 2 show of 2025. And then finally, my number 1 show of 2025, another Apple TV show, Pluribus. And I can't give this one away. All I got to say is you have to go watch it. It is from Vince Gilligan, who created Breaking Bad, who created Better Call Saul. Rhea Seehorn is the main actress in this show. But basically, it's a sci-fi thriller that will have you on edge the whole time. And it's kind of a slow burn, but the burn is worth it. It is so well written, so well acted, so well done. You will love this show. So again, real quick, top 10 list for 2025. Pluribus number 1, White Lotus season 3 is number 2, Severance season 2 is number 3, Task is number 4, number 5 is Your Friends and Neighbors, number 6, Dexter Resurrection, number 7, It, Welcome to Derry, number 8, Stranger Things season 5, number 9, Adolescence, number 10, The Bear season 4. Those were my top 10 shows of 2025. If you're into a lot of shows and movies and all kinds of stuff, I try to mix that in occasionally. I know this is a sports show, but we have and more at the bottom, just because we like to mix in that pop culture stuff. So I am going to close out our show here. Joe had to take an important phone call, so he had to leave me. But hopefully he didn't mind me talking the whole time here. But appreciate you guys watching, listening, all that good stuff. I'm going to walk across the desk and close us out. But appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to follow Youngstown Studio, the 330 Sports Show, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to